Hello, everybody. Welcome to Good Tech, an ongoing discussion around ethics and technology. I'm Elizabeth Perry with Idka. As a marketer for Idka, a company that was built by founders whose expertise combines technology with human rights and built upon the notion that privacy is the most basic of human rights, I often refer to what I call the quiet revolution in tech. A movement is underway for individuals to regain control of their digital lives, rather than continuing to let big tech hold the reins. US Senator Elizabeth Warren is even putting that proposed breakup of big tech at the center of her campaign. Is that the answer for a fairer, kinder digital world? According to today's guest, the most human company wins. What exactly does that mean? How do we as business leaders become more human-centric in a world that often seems driven by the exploitation of rather than the respect for the customer? Here to help us tackle those questions and more, it's a great pleasure to welcome globally recognized author, speaker, educator, and marketing expert, Mark Schaefer. Mark, great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
I'm loving the applause. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's unexpected. I'm geeking out on that.
Well, we have a full studio audience here today.
Oh, good.
No, I'm just kidding. No, but it gets us jazzed, you know? I mean, it's...
Yes, I'm jazzed.
So, Mark, you've written 9 books, am I right?
You're ahead of this count a little bit. I'm on 8. I just released my eighth book. Yes.
Okay. I guess there was the essays or something that also that you
yeah, that was number 8, but
okay,
we can round up to 9.
Well, you know, mostly in the marketing realm, right? But what I appreciate about what I've read, that instead of rehashing existing content, you really create your own. And I think that's rare. So I really appreciate that. And you've got some great ideas. We're going to go through some of those today, but I want to get right to your latest book, Marketing Rebellion, The Most Human Company Wins. It's a fascinating read. I recommend it to people that aren't in marketing because I think, you know, marketing is about the bottom line. Anybody who's a professional, anybody who's in business should really read this. And in your book, you divide this rebellion into 4 parts, right? So as a consumer rebellion, you know, the first rebellion you call No More Lies.
Mm-hmm.
When was that and how did that happen?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for your kind words. It's nice that you liked my book. So, you know, the reason I wrote the book, Elizabeth, is because I was seeing this trend where a lot of marketing executives were telling me, you know, our marketing just isn't working like it used to, and we're feeling overwhelmed, and we feel like we're falling behind. And my original hypothesis was that they were really kind of getting behind the curve of technology,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, feeling sort of overwhelmed. And when I got into it, I realized that yes, the technology is moving fast, but more important, our customers are moving away from us in a very significant way, in a profound way, and that in a way that most businesses, they don't even see it. The research is absolutely undeniable. And so I hope my book sort of serves as a wake-up call. And there is this rebellion going on about being controlled by technology. So these rebellions that you asked me about, when I got into it and started doing the research, I realized that consumers have always been rebelling against us. Anything that smacks of technological control. The consumers speak very loudly. So this first rebellion you mentioned was in the early days of advertising. Uh, it was very manipulative. It was lies, and there were lots of products out there making just crazy claims, and the consumers rebelled, and finally, it had to be regulated, and so the consumers won. And I think that's an important lesson from history, is that every time these consumers speak out, they eventually win. So that was the first rebellion, happened like in the 1920s, 1930s. And that was the end of lies. Then the second rebellion really was ushered in by the internet. And we had all this information in our companies and in our governments that moved down to the people. And I remember being in business at that time, and it was absolutely terrifying, because how are we ever going to make money when our customers know more about what we're doing than we do? We sold cars and insurance and vacation plans based on what people didn't know. And it just disrupted marketing, it disrupted businesses. And that was the end of the second rebellion, which was the end of secrets. No more secrets. Now,
right. And you talk about McDonald's here for a second.
Yeah.
Pull up that graphic. You got to love it. You got to love the McDonald's story. So talk to me about that.
The McDonald's story, I really admire McDonald's as a marketing company, and some of the amazing things they've done over the years. They've had some of the most memorable advertising slogans and jingles in history. They're kind of a magical marketing company. And I remember, when McDonald's was sort of in that terrifying period where there were no more secrets on the internet. And so people started asking questions like, what are in these hamburgers? What are in these milkshakes? And how come the burger on the menu doesn't look like the burger I just unwrapped, on my dinner plate? And so McDonald's had to adjust. They were getting absolutely bombarded on the internet. All these rumors were going around. They couldn't control them. They tried to have, Twitter chats and conversations about what they do and their healthfulness of their food and how they work with farmers. And every time they tried to do that, it just got hijacked by, people who were trying to, make them look bad. And so finally, they just sort of came to this cataclysmic decision that said, game's over. We got to come clean on everything. And they started a website called, I think it was called Your Questions, Our Answers. And they answered something like 10,000 customer questions. Nothing was off limits. And it sort of ushered in a new age of transparency that we're still seeing today, as far as being transparent about, where does this stuff come from? How is it made? Is it fresh? Is it frozen? What are the ingredients? How many calories are in this stuff? And all that really happened as part of this second rebellion, which was no more secrets. And the rebellion where we're in today, we don't want to be controlled. So in the history of advertising and marketing, we've tried to put people in a sales funnel. We've tried to control our brand and our messaging. And the fact of the matter is today, the customers are in control. 2/3 of our marketing is occurring without us. A brand used to be what a company told you it was. Today, a brand is what people tell each other. And so this is the main message of my book, is that today we have to reimagine what marketing is about. All the things that used to work for us, the advertising and the public relations and, all these things that we held dear, they just don't work like they used to. Today, the customer is the marketer. How do we get invited to that 2/3 so that our customers carry our stories forward? Because that's the only people believe today. They believe each other. They don't believe companies and brands and advertising.
Right. Let's go into a little bit of detail on the technology side. What stands out for me about this book is that it seems like traditional ways or old ways of thinking, or even ways that we were thinking last month, are getting upended. And a lot of it, according to what I've read, has to do with technology. You even go as far as to say in your introduction, technology may be the enemy. That's a pretty frightening statement for any business. I mean, we've spent a great deal of time perfecting AI and other tech-driven methods to get attention. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by technology may be the enemy?
Well, technology is the enemy of great marketing in a lot of ways. And I want to emphasize that, I love technology and I benefit from technology like all of us. But technology hurts marketing when it becomes the focus of our company instead of the customer, when it makes us become lazy, when we just rely on some dashboard instead of really knowing what is going on with our customers, when we use technology that sets up barriers instead of reducing barriers between us and our customers, when we use technology to abuse people, to annoy people, to cross the line with privacy. That's when technology is the enemy. And it's not because technology is bad. It's because technology is so good and so easy and so inexpensive that it just seems so easy to exploit. And we can buy 1 million email addresses for $9.99. And if just one person buys something from us, it's paid for itself. But in the meantime, we've spammed 999,999,000 people. And those are the decisions.
Can you go back from that?
Pardon me?
I mean, you can't. I'm sorry, but can you not return from that? Like, once you spam people and annoy 99,000 people, then you lost, right? I mean,
well, if in many cases, I mean, I think Steve Jobs said a brand is trust. A brand can be, there are a lot of different complex definitions out there for brands potentially. Might have something to do with, emotions or perceptions, but I think at its heart and its core, a brand is trust. And if you don't have trust, you don't have a brand. And you see what's going on with Facebook right now on some of the hearings going on Capitol Hill around Libra, right? And I mean, they're just absolutely getting scalded. There was a senator I saw that was quoted yesterday that said, Facebook has burned down the house. They've abused us and abused us and abused us. And they're the last company I would ever trust with functionality like this. So I mean, that's potentially not just hurting the Facebook brand, it's deteriorating their entire future. And so I think we do need to look at trust, and we need to, and look, we can use technology to build trust. We can use technology to be more human and more to react in a better way, and a faster way, and a more authentic way. So it's really my message in the book, and my message in everything I do and say, is that we have to get back to what marketing is about. Marketing is about trust. The first marketing class I ever took, I opened up Dr. Philip Kotler's textbook, The Principles of Marketing. And Dr. Kotler said, marketing is about psychology, sociology, and anthropology. And it is.
right.
Marketing is all things human, but marketing to many professionals is all things tech. We're obsessed with our tech stack. We're obsessed with automation. And that's the exact opposite of what anybody in this world really wants.
So let's talk about automation. One of the things, one of the stories I love, and I love these little anecdotes that you pull out in this book. You tell the story of your experience at a car dealership when automated marketing went haywire. Ultimately, the exact opposite effect to what was intended. Kind of reminiscent to me of like HAL in Space Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey, when it
Yeah.
went haywire. So can you tell us that story quickly? And, and then we'll talk about
Yeah,
the
it's funny you
lack
should
of.
mention that because the lease is going to be up on my car soon, and I'm already in my mind thinking I will never go back to this dealership again, ever. And the short version of the story was that I had been a BMW customer for more than 20 years, and I had bought cars, I had leased cars, and the lease was up on a car. So I got 4 different emails from 4 different people offering me 4 different deals on a new lease. So I contacted someone at the dealership. They said, "Oh, follow this one. This is from your sales rep." I think his name was Jeremy. So I said, "Okay." So I interacted with these emails, and I set an appointment for a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And Monday night, Jeremy sent me an email confirming, "Yes, I'll be there, Mr. Schaefer. Here is the car. It's going to be waiting for you." And it was literally the only day I was going to be home like that month. I had to get it done that day. So I get to the dealership. There's no Jeremy. It's his day off. Nobody at the dealership knew I was coming. The car I had been promised isn't even on the lot. And all of those interactions I was having with Jeremy and all those promises were automated. Jeremy didn't even know they were going out. And finally, I got to the sales manager and showed him this deal. And he looked at me with his blank stare. He didn't know I was coming in. He had never seen this offer before. The car wasn't even available. And I said, just out of my own curiosity, how many appointments does a salesperson have every day? He said, "Oh, 2 at the most." I said, "Are you telling me that a person can't manage 2 appointments a day? That has to be automated?" And it just went downhill from there. The
Mhm.
technology, literally the technology, augmented by some rude people, turned a 20-year customer into sort of a brand terrorist, right? I will never go back. And I will tell everybody who even mentions that brand how bad this dealership is in Knoxville, Tennessee.
It's a great example, and it's like it's about lack of control and it's about lack of efficiency, but it's also about ethics, right? I mean, we're being
It's ethics,
disrespected, we're being treated
it's
like data points.
it's ethics, and it's arrogance, and it gets exactly back to what we've been talking about, where this was an opportunity. Technology could have been used for good. There's lots of amazing things they could have done to help me have uh, 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 to be efficient, to get me in and out of there, to have a value added experience. And that was not their priority. They're just trying to automate things because they're obsessed with the automation. They're obsessed
Mhm.
with the technology. They're obsessed
Mhm.
with taking people out of the process and the humanity out of the process.
Right.
And but that's a symbol, I think, for a way a lot of businesses are operating today. We've
Mhm.
gone too far down the route of technology,
Mhm.
and that's just not where customers are today. It's not what they want. It's not what they value. That's not what's going to earn their loyalty. The most human
So
company will win.
so let me ask you a question. We're talking about technology, and you and I both know that marketing is enamored with data and and automation and AI, whatever. Is it possible, and if so, how, to be human centered and ethical and kind and impersonal utilizing this kind of technology?
Well, I think there's lots of opportunities. Number one on the list is any way you can automate processes, internal processes, routine administrative processes that free up time so that they can actually, see and talk to customers.
Right.
I think another opportunity is customer service at many companies is terrible.
Right. And
Um,
automated.
yeah, and so if your company has customer service that sucks, you just need to be one notch above suck and you're doing better, right? So, I mean, if you could employ a chatbot that maybe it's not great, maybe it's not human, but it's one notch above, where you are right now, that's a step toward, being better. Um, I think the technology will advance to the point where a lot of this automation will be better able to serve our customers than humans. It'll be more human, more friendly,
Mm.
more customer oriented than even humans, and that's fine. Um, let's just help each other get through the day. That would be a positive use of technology, I
So
think.
you don't think we need to go back to the Middle Ages and face-to-face contact and, human to human connection rather
No,
than
no. I mean,
all.
there's always going to be room for technology, and we have to look at technology in a smart way that's going to create some competitive advantage for us. But and the sort of the weird twist here is that uh, the least automated we appear, however we can use automation to, not appear to be automated, the better we're going to be. I think a lot of people confuse personalized with personal. The
Right.
irony in our world today is that personalized has become impersonal because we just see our name slapped on the top of that email, and in our mind it's spam. So the company putting out said, "Oh, we invested in this. It's personalized," but it's impersonal today. That's the
Right.
definition of impersonal.
Right.
Now, being personal is really connecting with a customer. I heard this example the other day, which was amazing. My friend ordered some socks from a sporting goods company, and he got a call from somebody at the company. And he said, "Sir, I saw that you ordered these socks, and I love these socks. I just wondered what kind of a trip are you going on? Because there might be some other things we have. And if you love those socks, here's some other things." And they said, "Oh yeah, I'm going on this trail. Oh, I love that trail." Now all of a sudden, this company has become a person. It's a person with a shared passion. And I'm not saying every company can do something like that, but I think those signature moments stand out. I think they create this sort of peak experience for us that create this emotional bond, excuse me, that will help us create loyalty for our brand.
Yeah. So I'm gonna switch gears just a tiny bit here, and we'll get back to the book and this rebellion you talk about today. I mean, because today big tech companies are in the news. Big tech's in the news constantly, every day, every moment, and we've talked a lot about it on this show. But the debate has heated around the U.S. presidential campaigning. I mentioned earlier Elizabeth Warren, who wrote a piece in Medium. Here's a quote from that article. Today's big tech companies have too much power over our economy, our society, and our democracy. They've bulldozed competition, used our private information for profit, and tilted the playing field against everyone else. And in the process, they've hurt small businesses and stifled innovation. Now, I recently read an article of yours that really piqued my interest, and I want to talk about that today. The article is entitled "Why Breaking Up Big Tech Won't Work." Um, let's you say we don't want more choice. We like psychological monopolies. You say
Mm-hmm.
customers also want to keep the tech monopolies in place. Is this because they want it simple or because they don't know any better?
Maybe a little of both. um, well, I think that, first of all, I mean, I want to be clear that probably philosophically, maybe even from a legal basis, there could be a case for breaking up big tech because of the monopolies and because of their power in the economy. So I'm not trying to take any sort of legal stand. However, it may end up being politically unpopular from both an advertiser perspective and from a consumer perspective. So let's start with advertisers. So let's think about some of the biggest companies in the world. Advertising, like television advertising, newspaper advertising, radio advertising, it's going away. It is dying. I make a case in the book that for digital natives in our society, their consumption of advertising is down by 95% in the last 5 years. So there's a big move toward digital ads, which you can argue about whether they're effective, but that's all they've got right now. So where do they go? Close to 70% of all digital ads are on Google and Facebook. Amazon's coming up fast. And this is kind of an elegant solution for a big brand. You don't have to go to a dozen networks. You don't have to go to 100 magazines. You go to 2 places. You go to Google and you go to Facebook and you negotiate a deal and you have one dashboard, and it's a very elegant solution. So companies love that simplicity. Consumers, they only have the psychological bandwidth for one product in the digital space. So that's why Google Plus ultimately failed. Google Plus was trying to be a new social network. It didn't really have a tremendous amount of differentiation over Facebook. It didn't try to differentiate by technology. It didn't try to differentiate by demographics. They made a lot of mistakes with their approach and their marketing. But the fact of the matter is, it's easier for people to move to a different city than it is to move to a different social network. You got to bring all your friends. You got to bring all your Candy Crush stuff. You got to bring all your Justin Bieber videos, right? You got your place. You got your group. You got your friends. You got your baby pictures, right? And people just don't want to move.
Right.
So we only really have there's, if anybody says, oh, we're going to be the next Twitter, run away. We already have a Twitter. It works just fine. We don't need another Twitter. So from a consumer standpoint, they just want it to be easy. You can go to Amazon, you can just, anywhere you are in the world, you can buy something, it'll be on your doorstep in the next day, and it's frictionless, right? So that's what consumers want. Just make it cheap, easy, free delivery, good return policy, boom, that's all I want. And that's exactly what Amazon focuses on every single day with every breath they take and every dollar of R&D money they spend. They're focusing on making all that better and better and better. So, I don't think there's going to be, corporate, backing of this. I don't think there's going to be consumer backing of this. So, if Elizabeth Warren wants to do it and who's going to really say, yeah, that's the right thing to do? I don't know. It's just an opinion. I might be wrong.
But I mean, you talk about the consumer and what they want, but then also in the same article, you're talking about how the customer or the competition is greater because of big tech and not breaking up big tech, or big tech creates opportunity is what I guess what you said.
Well, yeah. One of the points I was making is that, first of all, I agree that big tech depresses competition. It has depressed competition. Let's put it that way. It has, cost jobs, but when you really get down to it, the ultimate problem is trust and ethics,
Right.
because all these things that we're talking about in terms of Amazon being big, dominant, reducing competition, cutting jobs, ruining small businesses, Walmart did the same thing. Same thing. I lived in a small town in Texas. I guess it would have been in the mid 80s. Walmart came in and destroyed the local economy, depressed competition, cut
Mhm.
out hundreds of small businesses. Nobody talked about regulating Walmart, no, because Walmart ran in an ethical way. They created jobs in the community. They trained people in new ways. They gave back to the community. They had this Buy America sort of bent in terms of their culture. And the big problem is, why people just mistrust Google, Amazon, Facebook, is because,
Mhm.
I don't know about Amazon so much, but certainly in the case of Facebook, the company has no moral compass.
Right.
They only do the right thing when they get caught doing the wrong thing. That is no way to run a company, and we're seeing the results of that now. So of course
Mhm.
people are going to lash back at them, and it's going to be a politically, you know, popular thing to do, to say we're going to crush these jerks.
So you think there's room for competition for Facebook, even though Facebook has created this world, and you say, and as you say, it's difficult to move my friends or whatever. But
Yeah.
what if, so let's just talk about Idka for a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
Idka is a platform that has simple functionality. You can communicate, chat, share, store. You've got Dropbox functionality. You've got Facebook functionality. You got WhatsApp. It's all simple and it's all on one platform. What do you think about that kind of a solution? That's also, oh, and by the way, we happen to respect the user's privacy. This
Well,
is like
let's
good
I mean,
tech.
let's look at how social media is evolving. Um, I think it's funny. Someone asked me a similar question. Um, they said, I was listening to some of your old podcast episodes. I have a podcast called The Marketing Companion. We talk about trends and issues like
Yeah.
this. And a couple years ago, I made the statement that the next Facebook will be Facebook, because Facebook has the money and the technology and the engineering to reinvent themselves, to recreate themselves, to buy any competition,
Mm-hmm.
or suppress competition, um, because they're so powerful. And so the fellow asked me, "Do you still think that's true today?" And I don't, because I totally underestimated Facebook's ability to destroy themselves. And it is vulnerable. So that's part one. Now here's part two. Social media channels are stratifying by demographic age groups.
Right.
So the only demographic growing on Facebook is 55 and over. Then you've got this group of people who are 30 to 18. Snapchat is their place. Mom isn't there, grandma isn't there, they don't understand it, they'll never get it. That's their place. Now, the younger kids, junior high kids, they're looking at this, they're saying, Snapchat's not for us, TikTok is for us. The reason Google Plus didn't make it is because it wasn't cool.
Right.
It needed to appeal to a generation and say, this is your place. Forget about those Facebook people. This is your place. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there are opportunities to stratify by demographics, to become cool,
Mm-hmm.
to create that emotional bond with some group of people,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to to a generation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I think the future opportunities are going to be. Um, let's put it, Facebook still has 2 billion customers, and it's not going to be going away anytime soon. And it has a tremendous amount of power in a lot of respects. So, I mean, I don't think Facebook is going to be going away, but Snapchat is not Facebook, and TikTok is not Facebook. And I'll tell you something else. I could argue the biggest social network in the world right now is Fortnite. And Fortnite is not Facebook. And Twitch is not Facebook. Twitch is another rapidly growing social network owned by Amazon. The average person that goes on Twitch spends 95 minutes when they visit Twitch.
I think,
so there are definitely opportunities.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I don't know how you feel you're impacted by things like GDPR and, regulation. You talk about regulation as well. And in Europe, you have GDPR, you have privacy laws are getting so important now, and they're being echoed beyond Europe that, you can't, some places you can't use Facebook Workplace. You can't use Google. You can't use, in some like public sector, private organizations, they're off limits because of the lack of data security and privacy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so do you think that's going to happen in the US as well?
Well, it's hard to say. The United States and the attitude toward privacy here is a bit of a mystery to me, honestly. In my classes and my speeches, I often say, "Thank God for Germany," because Germany is always the one that sues Google. Germany is Germany or a Scandinavian country. They're the ones that say, "Wait a minute, Facebook, stop that. We're not going to let you do that to our citizens." And in America, the attitude is generally, "Oh, you're giving it to me for free? Oh, cool, whatever." And there's not a big push around privacy, and there's not going to be a push around privacy until it really hurts people's pocketbooks.
Right.
If the United States is way behind, some of the states are starting to catch up now on some of the privacy laws, but the United States is way behind. Our legal system doesn't even know what questions to ask around technology and privacy, let alone how to legislate it. So, I mean, I think Europe is leading the way, and United States it's in catch-up mode. It'll probably always be in catch-up mode, and I don't completely understand that, but thank God for Germany.
Yeah, I mean, now we're talking about putting people in jail if they violate, because right now you just fork out a couple $1 billion in fines, and that's just part of the plan, right? I mean, that's going to change. We're talking about jailing people now.
Yeah.
So well, anyway,
and I think that's appropriate. I think you've got to get people's attention and make them accountable, and that'll get a CEO's attention.
You talked about the need for regulation in that article we were talking about. You say regulation is one of the mega trends coming at us that will make the world of social media marketing incredibly hard to predict. Look for regulations starting to pour out after the 2020 election. So you believe?
Well, I think even the industry insiders say we need regulation. I mean, they're saying we cannot regulate ourselves. And there was quite a poignant quote, I think, at the Davos forum in March. I believe it was March, where Mark Benioff, the chairman of Salesforce, said that social media platforms need to be regulated like cigarettes.
Right.
They're addictive and they're bad for you. and this is the guy who formed, he's a tech giant, right? And ex Facebook people and Silicon Valley executives are coming forward and saying, um, you know, what's going on is dangerous. It's dangerous to society. It's dangerous to democracy. It's dangerous to individuals. It's dangerous to the free press. And we've got to be regulated because these companies cannot regulate themselves. So
Right.
I think regulation is inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not breaking up the monopolies may not be inevitable, but regulation is inevitable and it's desirable.
Mm-hmm. So let's get back to your book. I want to talk about the final rebellion. I thought that was fascinating and frightening, and I want to talk about, how do you see the future? What's the fourth rebellion?
Well, it's what I love to dwell in what's next. I mean, I spend all my time reading and thinking and writing about what's going to be next. It's kind of what I'm known for, I guess. Is I've had a pretty good track record of seeing how trends come together and sort of see, this is where we're going to be and this is what's going to happen. And so, one idea as you think through, okay, where's technology going to go that has the opportunity to, really abuse technology? It could be used for good or it could be used for bad. And it gets down to the intense, nearly infinite amount of data that companies are going to have on us, down to the molecular level. So what happens when we start integrating our DNA, our chemical composition, into marketing initiatives? Certainly can happen. Companies will be able to formulate special diets for us, special foods for us, special medicines for us, based on our DNA, based on our physical composition. And so I think that is an area that could be used for good or it could be used for bad when it comes to technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I forecast in the book is saying that might be the area where again, potential customers could push back and say, wait a minute, I want to make my own choices. I
Yeah.
don't want you making choices based upon what you think is happening in my body or my chemicals. I want to choose. And so who knows? Who knows? Maybe this is the last rebellion we're in right now, but I doubt it.
Yeah, well, God forbid somebody gets inside my head with a chip or something and tells me I need, that's like fortune telling. I mean, that's scary. I don't like that.
Yeah. It's a weird, wonderful, and a bit scary, what we're looking for in terms of our future in technology.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to wrap this up. We got a few minutes, and what would you like to leave the audience with today? How can they find you? What would you like to leave the audience with today?
Well, I think the message I'd like to leave the audience with is that I truly believe, and I think it's being demonstrated today with the companies that are really growing and winning, is that the most human company will win. The people who will use a human-centered approach to marketing that is respectful, that is sensitive, that is, authentic to the point of being almost like artisanal in their approach. I'd like to encourage people to look around what you're doing in your own companies. If you're doing things that people hate, stop it. That's
Mm,
where the marketing rebellion starts. Stop abusing people. Stop interrupting them. Stop intercepting them. Stop violating their privacy. And then, get out and just see what are your customers' needs. They're crying out with so many needs. Get out, talk to them, really see what they're about. And I'd love for everyone to keep in touch with me. It's easy to find me. Nobody can really remember how to spell Schaefer, but you can remember Businesses Grow. Businessesgrow.com is my site. You can find my blog, my podcast, my books, lots of information. You can find ways to follow me on social media there. And I'd love to keep in touch and become friends with your listeners.
That's awesome. And, I got your book on Kindle. You can find it on your site. That's how I got it. So yeah, businessesgrow.com.
It's on
right?
Kindle, paper, hardback, and audio.
Right.
Marketing
Excellent.
Rebellion.
Excellent. Mark, it's an incredible pleasure to have spoken with you today. And thanks so much for your time and for joining in. I hope you'll come back again. We have so much more to talk about.
Oh, you better promise me that you'll have me back,
forward to
Elizabeth.
your next book.
Yeah, can't wait to come back.
Oh, I promise. Cross my heart. Hope to
have me on another podcast.
So listen, as a reminder, the show. What's that? What's that?
Cross your heart. Hope to have me on another podcast.
Perfect. As a reminder, the show is recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, UBN Go iTunes. Find us there, and any other podcast platform you use. Please share with your friends. Follow us on Twitter at IdkaAV. If you have any questions for Mark or myself, just jot us a note in the comments on Idka's YouTube channel or find us on idka.com. It's free to set up an account, bring your groups, your people, your organizations, communicate, collaborate, share, and store anything while your privacy remains intact. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you again on the next Good Tech. Bye, everybody.